One day, four friends heard a rumor about a monster living in an abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town and decided to investigate. What was meant to be a fun exploration turned deadly as the rumor ended up costing them their lives. This is the premise of Ao Oni. Developed by noprops and released as a freeware game in Japan in 2008, Ao Oni was initially obscure but gradually gained a cult following. Its popularity surged between 2011 and 2012 when Let's Play video became popular. Video sharing platforms like YouTube and NicoNico Douga features playthrough of the game, sparking widespread curiosity. The game's fame exploded when more up-and-coming YouTubers at that time such as PewDiePie and Markiplier played it for their audience. At that time, horror games like Fellow Frame and Silent Hill set the standard of what a horror game should look like, but Ao Oni is the opposite of that. The gameplay is pretty simple. The player controls Hiroshi as he explores the locked mansion, gathering items and solving puzzles in order to escape. The creature, known as the Ao Oni, will begin to chase the player at both random and scripted moments, similar to the Nemesis in Resident Evil 3. This forces the player to evade the Oni by either outrunning him or hiding from him, since Hiroshi is unable to fight back against him. This simple gameplay mechanic, reminiscent of an old horror game, made Ao Oni stood out at a time when 3D games were all the norms. There's just something about pixel graphic that feels much scarier than normal 3D ones. Fast forward to today, Ao Oni is considered a cult classic and was later adapted into a variety of media, including 2 feature-length movies, a 13-episode anime, a series of light novels, and a manga adaptation. This video will cover the game, but I will do a follow-up video since there's a lot more to cover from this series. The game begins with a narration from Hiroshi telling us the player of a rumor where a monster lived in an old abandoned mansion. It then cuts to the 4 of them inside the mansion discussing whether they should continue their exploration or not. Here we are introduced to the characters Takuro, Mika, Takeshi, and our main character Hiroshi. Takeshi, despite having blonde hair and looks like your average delinquent, was pretty scared of this whole thing and tried to persuade all of them to leave. Suddenly, they heard a plate shattered nearby. There, Hiroshi found a plate shattered on the ground. Weird, but since Hiroshi was a non-believer in anything supernatural, he dismissed it and returned to the group. But when he got there, all of them were gone. Did they leave him? Were they playing a prank on him? Whatever it was, Hiroshi decided to leave. But no matter how hard he tried to open the door, it simply wouldn't budge. It was like there was an invisible force that was stopping him from leaving. Left with no choice, Hiroshi explores the mansion to find his missing friends. While he was searching a room on the 2nd floor, the closet suddenly rattled. Slowly, he approached it, and when he opened it, he found Takeshi inside, shivering as if he'd seen a ghost. Hiroshi tried questioning him about their missing friend, but no matter what he said, Takeshi couldn't stop shivering. It was clear he saw something that he wasn't supposed to see and it messed him up. He looked around the room a bit more and left after picking up a library key. While exploring downstairs, Hiroshi saw a silhouette of a person, but something about it didn't feel right. Well, he was about to find out what it was when he enters the library room. As he picked up the bedroom key hidden underneath a book, he looked to his right and out of nowhere, a purple-colored monster started chasing after him. This creature is Ao Oni. It's a creature that haunted Hiroshi throughout his entire time in the mansion. Ao Oni would appear randomly and Hiroshi had to do whatever it took to lose him. Later, as he explores the deeper part of the mansion, he would encounter more Onis, each with their own unique look and trait. For now, this was a scripted event that taught the player how to hide. Running away like his life depended on it, Hiroshi ran to the room on the 2nd floor and thankfully, the closet where Takeshi had been hiding was now empty. He quickly hid inside and waited as the Ao Oni burst into the room to look for him. Hiroshi could feel its heavy footsteps as it moves around the room. A few minutes after that, he heard the door slam. For now, he's safe. After the terrifying encounter with the Ao Oni, Hiroshi knew they needed to leave the mansion. Even a skeptic would have believed in the unknown when presented with solid evidence. But the problem was that the exit was blocked and Hiroshi still needed to find his friends. With no choice but to explore the mansion further, he set out to find an exit and his missing friends. While exploring the 3rd floor, Hiroshi found Takuro and the two spoke about seeing the Ao Oni. It seemed Takuro had already encountered this terrifying creature. Takuro then suggested they split up to look for the exit. This was the last time Hiroshi would ever see him. He continued his exploration, solving puzzles and evading the Ao Oni. At one point, Hiroshi met Mika, who was hiding in a locked room. Relieved to see her, Hiroshi suggested they stick together to find the exit, but Mika disagreed, believing it was safer to stay in the room. This was a decision she would deeply regret. Seeing that he couldn't persuade Mika to join him, Hiroshi left the room and continued his search. Along the way, he found a lighter in the tatami room and a basement key in a jail cell. As soon as he picked up the key, the Ao Oni appeared. Luckily, Hiroshi had already closed the jail door, preventing the Oni from entering and killing him. He watched as the Ao Oni grabbed the jail bar and shook them violently, trying to open it. After trying and failing, the Oni gave up and left. With the basement key in hand, Hiroshi tried to persuade Mika one last time, but when he entered the room where she had been hiding, he didn't find her cowering in fear. Instead, he found the Ao Oni munching on her corpse. It then turned to look at Hiroshi and chased after him. Hiroshi immediately fled. After escaping the Ao Oni, he entered the basement. There, he picked up the basement jail cell key. As soon as he did, he came face to face with Mika, alive and well. What's going on? Mika was supposed to be dead. It didn't take long for the answer to become clear for him. Mika transformed into the Mika Oni and chased after him. Hiroshi ran as fast as he could back into the jail cell. Similar to the Ao Oni, the Mika Oni grabbed the jail bar and shook them violently, trying to open it. But just like the Ao Oni, it failed to open it and gave up. However, it wouldn't be the last time Hiroshi would see the Mika Oni, as it tried to catch him off guard by appearing inside a closet while he attempted to retrieve the annex key. Still, it failed and Hiroshi managed to escape from it. With the annex key, Hiroshi unlocked a deeper part of the mansion. Dark, desolate, and full of holes in the flooring, the place seems abandoned for years. It was here that Hiroshi found Takeshi looking much worse than before. He blamed himself for leading everyone into this nightmare. Unable to cope with the guilt, Takeshi fled from Hiroshi, screaming in terror. Hiroshi learned of his fate soon after while trying to obtain the basement key. It appears the guilt had eaten him up from the inside, and Takeshi, unable to bear it any longer, had decided to take his own life. But this wasn't the end. Like Mika, Takeshi's lifeless body had transformed into the Ao Oni and began chasing him. Without looking back, Hiroshi fled from the transformed Takeshi, outrunning him and head straight to the basement. But just as he thought he had escaped death, the Takeshi Oni returned alongside the Mika Oni, ambushing him from both sides. Hiroshi immediately ran towards the nearest room. Luckily, that room had a closet where he could hide. As soon as he closed the closet door, the footsteps of the Onis can be heard. They looked around the room, but after not finding him, the Onis angrily left. This gave Hiroshi a moment to breathe before continuing his exploration. In the next room, Hiroshi reunites with Takuro, who had injured himself and suffered a twisted ankle. He decided it was better to wait inside the locker as he wasn't in good condition to move. He then handed Hiroshi a bottle of vinegar, a crucial item that Hiroshi would need to obtain the hidden room key. The hidden room led him to a dark underground passage, and at the end was a hole with a rope ladder attached to it. This was their ticket out. Hiroshi returned to Takuro and they hurried to the exit, but upon arriving, they found the Ao Oni already there, destroying the rope ladder. The two quickly fled from the creature, but at the worst possible time, Takuro fell down due to his injury. Hiroshi had no choice but to abandon him as the creature was just behind them. As he closed the door behind him, Takuro's scream could be heard. Later, Hiroshi returned to the tunnel but found no trace of Takuro. Had the Ao Oni devoured his body? He had a bad feeling but dismissed it and took the backdoor key. With the backdoor key, Hiroshi unlocked another part of the mansion, an old area with decrepit walls and flooring. Including a jail cell in the basement, the building seems out of place compared to the pristine mansion they had entered earlier. While solving a puzzle in the study room, Hiroshi experienced something strange. A painting crashed to the floor. Given how the building was, it was no surprise this had happened, so he dismissed it as the building falling apart. But as he moved closer to the broken painting, another Ao Oni appeared. This one was different. Instead of a humanoid figure, it resembles a true monster with jagged sharp teeth and blank eyes. This is Fuwari, another variant of the Ao Oni. Fuwari was a terrifying creature for two reasons. First, it was known for its fast movement, easily catching up to Hiroshi as he ran away. Second, it had a special ability to close the distance in seconds with a straight dash. But against all odds, Hiroshi managed to survive his encounter with Fuwari and entered the basement. The danger wasn't over yet. In the basement, he discovers there was a way out, but it was locked behind a puzzle requiring 3 blue pieces. 2 pieces were easily obtainable, but the third was inside a large jail cell room. This wouldn't have been a problem except that inside he had seen the Ao Oni, or rather, Ao Onis. Apparently this room, known as the Blueberry Farm, hosted numerous Ao Onis. each distinct from the others. As he ponders a way to enter, the hunchback Oni suddenly opened the cell door and stepped out. Surprised by this, Hiroshi tried to open the door to escape, but for some reason it was stuck. Panic filled his mind as not only was the hunchback Oni closing in, but Fuwari also joined in. He frantically turned the doorknob until it opened and Hiroshi immediately ran out. He took a deep breath before re-entering as he still needed the puzzle piece. As soon as he entered, the jail room was empty. It was as if nothing had been there to begin with. Without thinking too much, he went in and grabbed the last piece, but when he turned around, Takuro was standing behind him. Hiroshi was surprised, but he was glad to see Takuro was fine. But Takuro just kept quiet and only speaks when he needs to. He then suggested they stick together. Hiroshi unsuspectingly agreed to this, not knowing that this would nearly cost him his life. As he assembled all of the blue pieces, Hiroshi heard a click from a nearby door. This was it. Freedom was within reach, but as soon as he exited the door, he received the surprise of a lifetime. Takuro, who was behind him, suddenly turned into the Ao Oni and chased after him. Hiroshi was shocked to see this, but deep down he knew it was too good to be true. If he hadn't been clear before, it was now. All his friends were dead. He ran relentlessly until the monster no longer pursued him. The game then ended with another person trapped inside the mansion and was hunted down as seen through the Ao Oni's vision. So what exactly happened in the game Ao Oni? What is this creature known as the Ao Oni? Well, its origin were never explained in the game. There aren't any notes explaining where it came from, leaving the players to wonder what this creature is and just accept that it appeared out of nowhere. However, that doesn't mean we can't investigate. After playing this game multiple times and unlocking whatever the fuck this is, I think I can explain what happened in the game based on the clues found. To start, the clues all point towards the Ao Oni being an experimental being. Let me explain. The Ao Oni is most likely a creature born from an experiment. If that's the case, we can assume that the mansion's owner was a scientist. This would explain a lot. For instance, why is there a jail cell? Well, it's there to imprison the created/experimented Ao Oni. The Ao Oni itself is pretty interesting. It has the ability to infect people it eats, turning them into Onis. We see this happen when Hiroshi finds Mika dead and then a few minutes later she appears in the basement, transforming into an Ao Oni while retaining some of her features. Based on all of this information, here's what I believe happened. The mansion that Hiroshi and the others broke into was likely used as a base for conducting experiments. Scientists were probably developing a virus that created the Ao Oni. The variants Hiroshi encounters are human test subjects turned into Ao Onis. The scientists realized there was more to discover, so they used the virus on humans, resulting in the creation of the various Ao Onis. However, something must have happened to the scientists because there's no way they would leave the experiments unattended. I might go so far as to say that the first Oni that Hiroshi encountered was probably the scientists that were killed. I guess one of the Onis must have killed them and turned them into an Oni, but so far I haven't found any evidence to support that. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is one of the most fun video I've ever made. To be honest, Ao Oni seems a lot like the first Resident Evil. You know, trapped in a mansion with monster chasing after you, people turning to zombies, which in this case, people turning into an Ao Oni. You can't deny the similarity. Anyway, if you enjoy my stuff, don't forget to subscribe so you get to see more content like this. Like the video if you enjoyed it, check out my previous video if you haven't yet, and become a member to support the channel and get early access and more interesting stuff on this channel. That's all. See you.